morning. This is Tom Mitchell, the Highland Traveler. It is freezing. Literally, it's about 30 degrees out here. There's snow in the shade where it snowed a few days ago. I just camped the night in here in my really nice hammock, and I thought I would do a video on hammock camping for those who can't afford or don't want to invest in a more expensive system like what I have, the Superior Gear system. So in this, my $25 backpack, yeah, I paid 25 bucks for this pack. It's a 60 liter, weighs 2 pounds. I've not carried it on anything long, but it's fairly decent pack for what it is. But in this, I have a hammock system that I picked up. I bought the hammock and the bug net at Walmart for 13 bucks, 14 bucks each, and then bought a tarp online on Amazon and an underquilt. And I'm going to show you how to set this up and how to get yourself into hammock camping for less than $200. Mind you, it's not going to be a system that you could really backpack well with. I don't have everything in here I would need to backpack into an area. This less expensive stuff is bulky and heavy. I don't have a top quilt or a sleeping bag in this, or a sleeping pad. So you've got to keep those things in mind. If you want to backpack, then you want to go light, and light costs money. But if you're car camping, this is a great system to go, especially for summer car camping. So let me put this together and show you how to hammock camp. So the first thing you're going to start with is the hammock. This is an Equip brand hammock I picked up at Walmart for, I think it was like 15 bucks. I haven't even taken the tags off of it. This is a two-person, what they're touting as a two-person hammock. It's 124 inches long and 77 inches wide. The length is great. The width has a problem. I'll show you why. So this hammock comes with ropes and with a really heavy duty carabiner. I'm going to set it up with this to start with just to show you, but scrap the ropes, scrap the heavy duty carabiner. I'll show you what you can use here in a few minutes. So this rope is designed pretty poorly. The carabiner is huge metal. You basically wrap this around a tree and then carabine in, put the carabiner in at a knot. You could make various knots depending on how long or short you needed this to be. Oh, pine tar. If you get pine tar on your fingers, dirt gets rid of the stickiness. Cleaning it off is another story. I'm going to stretch this out over here. So as you can see, this has a bunch of knots tied in it. The length of this is not right. To fix this, I'm going to have to undo a bunch of these knots. This is the biggest problem with the hammock suspension like this, is you've got to find trees that are just exactly the right length. This is not simple. It's not easy. You've got to struggle with it. You really don't want to have to be struggling with stuff like that. Now I've got to try to get these knots undone, which all the way around is just a big pain in the butt. I'm going to go with plan B, which is actually, I wouldn't use these anyway. Ropes can hurt trees. They're narrow, even though this is a thicker rope. They're heavy. There's a better way, and it's nylon webbing. So let me show you that. So this is two lengths of nylon webbing that are daisy chained together. I bought these online from Hiker Hunger Outfitters. You can pick up the same basic thing at Walmart for like 10 bucks. It's almost identical. You can see this comes in two separate lengths. Get this one off of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this around the tree and loop it back through itself. Just snug it in tight like that. It's got all these little sewn in daisy chain spots for you to hook a carabiner into. So I can tell just by looking at this that it's going to be too long. So I'm going to use the shorter end, the end that doesn't have all the length on it, and wrap it around. Now I've got to where I can hook all the way up to here with my carabiners. So I'm going to still use this big heavy duty carabiner for now. This thing just comes with nylon webbing that's ran through the gathered end. I'm going to just hook that on here and just eyeball this. I paste this off and it's just about 10 feet. So when you first hang a hammock, you want to get it up and then you want to take a seat in it. Well, that went really good. You want to take a seat in it, and I can tell that's too low. So I've got to raise it up. All right, now I've raised it up a little bit. Try this again. And that's actually just about right. Yeah, that's not bad right there. You want it like you're sitting in a chair, maybe, you know, so your legs are a little flat. It could be a little bit better, but so I've put the foot end higher up on purpose. That's how you want to hang a hammock, especially a gathered end one like this, so that all this stuff here, it gives you room. Let me show you this. So you just start out from a sitting position and swing your legs up in. This actually isn't bad, except for one thing. All this extra fabric. What is that all about? I don't get it. I mean, look at that. I couldn't sleep in this. This is a lounging hammock, and it's actually designed for this. That's why they build it like they did, though that's not doable. But that's why they're calling it a two-person hammock, because of this, all this extra material on the side. It's just, that's crazy. I mean, honestly, it's fine if you want to use it that way, but I wouldn't. So let me show you what I'm going to do. It's warmed up just enough that I was able to strip off that other jacket. Yeah, you're thinking I'm nuts? I'm going to take all that off, which is going to include that stupid little bag that hangs on the side. That's fine. I can trim around that and use that bag as the stuff bag. That's just nuts to have that much extra material on here. I'm going to cut it just at the green right on that seam so there won't be any frayed ends. The tricky part is just this beginning gathered end area. You don't want to cut into the stitching. You just want to go right along the edge of it. Some people might think I'm nuts for doing this, but if I wanted to use this hammock to camp in, there's no way I could sleep in it with that, all that extra material. All right. It's much better. This is still, the cut of this thing is still a little bit weird, but that's much better. I mean, you can see I've got some hanging over the edges now, but not near as bad. I've got some stringy ends there, but that's livable. So laying in a hammock, you don't want to lay like this. And that's part of the reason why I wanted 10 foot. 10 foot's going to be way more comfortable. You want a hammock about twice as long as you are tall. So 10, 11, 12 foot. And then you want to lay diagonal. So you see how I put my legs over there and put my body over here. And way more comfortable. Getting a little bit of calf ridge which is where the gathered end bunches up. If I scoot maybe up a little bit more, that might help, but or even down here, that's even better. So that's how you want to lay in a hammock, is diagonal like this, and that's why you want one that's about 60 inches wide. So you lay diagonal like this and you're going to be pretty comfortable, except I'm feeling the cold coming in under me right now. It's about 40 degrees out here now. It's warmed up when the sun came up, but you can't lay in a hammock like this even with a sleeping bag and stay warm. It's just not going to happen. So you need a top quilt or a sleeping bag on top of you and an underquilt or a pad inside. We'll get to that in a minute. There's some other things I'm going to do to make this hammock better. Let me show you. So one of the biggest things you can do to make a hammock more comfortable and more consistent every time you hang it, because you're not always going to have the trees the exact same distance apart, having an adjustable suspension makes a big difference, so you can adjust that. But to make it even better, you want a ridgeline. People think, well, a ridgeline, what is a ridgeline? It's literally a piece of typically am steel, which is a type of cordage that connects to the hammock. Here's the end, the gathered end. The ridgeline would attach right in here on both ends, and they're adjustable. So they're typically adjustable with what's called a Whoopie Sling, to where you can adjust it up and down, make it longer or shorter to get your proper lay, so that you put the right amount of curve or flatness in your hammock to make it more comfortable to sleep in for you. Because hammock camping is about customization. It's about getting it comfortable for you. What might work for you won't work for somebody else. So I'm going to add a ridgeline to this and what is called some continual loops, because this is okay, but I can make that better. So here's a continual loop I bought from Dutchware. I don't remember how much I paid. I think it was like $7 or $8 for two of them. The Ridgeline was cheap also. I believe it was $7 or $8. So this is not expensive stuff. This is going to go in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off, and I'm going to put this through and loop it in on itself. And when I do that, I'm going to add the ridgeline. So let me show you doing that. So I'm going to start just by unhooking this, and I'm just going to whack this off. Just cut it and pull it through. Now you're thinking, what the heck, really? But yep. While I'm there, I'm going to go ahead and cut these off. There's no need to have those on there. That's just the excess from when I trimmed off that edge. Alright, so now the trick here is going to be fishing this through. This is going to take a few minutes. Pretty much just going to push it in and pull it along, and then bunch it up and pull it along. You don't want to pull it all the way through. You want to leave one end out so that when it's bunched together you can loop it back through. So I'm going to sit here and do this. Notice I'm looping my pinky through that to stop that from pulling through. Alright, I've got that through like that. So now what I'm going to do, this is the ridgeline. I'm going to put the adjustment end on what would be the head end. So you slip this through there like that, and then just drop it through the loop just like that. So you're just making a solid loop right there with the ridgeline in there. So the ridgeline is sitting on top of that loop. That way it's not pushing down into here. So I'm going to hook this back up. I'm going to go do the other end. Okay, now I've got the ridgeline attached. This is what's called a Whoopie Sling. It's where the steel cordage is ran back through itself. This area that it runs back through grips itself when it's under pressure. But you can lengthen this or shorten this. You can shorten it just by grabbing hold and pulling. Just grabbing hold of the end that matches that and just pulling, and that'll lengthen it. You see the hammock sagging. Now this is really loose. Or you can take hold of this end and pull and bring it up tight. So the trick to this is to get it set to where it's giving you a proper lay and sag in the hammock. So as you see now, as I lay in here, I was able to adjust with the ridgeline, able to adjust the sag or how tight I wanted it and make it much more comfortable. It makes a difference when you're hanging in, when you just go to set up. I got this set pretty good right off the bat, but it makes a big difference when you're having to set up in trees that are not exactly the right length apart. That's where the ridgeline comes in really, really handy. So that just makes it really nice. I can just lay in here diagonally. You can lay on your side, no problem. And look at that. So that's really nice. Now, having this there in my face, I would actually make that the foot end. I hung it with that end higher as the foot end, but if I hung it again, I would make this the foot end so that that's not hanging in my face. So I've got it to this point. I went ahead and adjusted it a little bit so that that's the foot end and that's the head end now. And I raised it up just a little. So as you can see, hung the backpack from the suspension. It's a perfect place to hang it, get it up off the ground. A lot of people think throw a sleeping bag in this and you're ready to go. It's not the case. You need to have good insulation under you, whether you're sleeping on the ground or in a hammock. So one way to go is just with an insulated pad like this. You could just throw the pad in here. Not as easy as it looks. You could just throw the pad in here. Of course, I'm trying to do it with the curl down to make it a little bit easier to lay on. So as you can see, throwing a pad in there isn't just that easy. But that makes it, that's going to give you some decent insulation there. I put my head end down here. So that's going to make some pretty good insulation. Always kick your shoes off. Now the problem with this is, I mean, that's better right off the bat, but I need to get it a little bit more diagonal so I can lay in here properly, and that can be difficult. You've got to shift it around and play with it. A pad like this is going to be way better than an inflatable pad that's going to slip and slide on you. But this right off the bat, just laying in here like this, I can feel it's way better. There's not near the cold coming in from underneath. Pads are fine, especially if you're backpacking and you think you might need to go to ground. You might not have trees to hang from. Your pad is great because you can sleep on it on the ground if you need, or put it in your hammock. It's a great solution if you don't want to go with an underquilt, or you're going into an area where you might not have a tree to hang in. But like I said, getting this thing the proper diagonal, it just is difficult, and is, I'm going to struggle with it. Probably if I set it like that, that would work much better. The next option, which I'm more of a fan of, is an underquilt. This is rated as a 3-season underquilt, good to about 40 degrees. It's made by One Wind. I picked it up on Amazon for, I think, $60. I'll put the prices to everything on here because I can't remember. But so this isn't a bad underquilt for what it is. It's got a double-ended stuffed sack so you can put it in from either end. Just going to open it up. This is synthetic fill in it. It's not down. Down is expensive. My stuff is all down, and it's really warm and really expensive. So you're going to take this underquilt. I'm going to lay it out in here. And this one has an interesting suspension for it. It's going to be the black side up, so the green side down. And it's basically got a carabiner here that you're just going to hook up to your suspension. Then you're going to bring it out underneath like this, and then you're going to tighten it up. It's got a couple different cinches. So this underquilt has a number of different suspension attributes. Got these kind of twisted up. Various points that all come up to one point where it carabiners onto the suspension, and these draw cords that you can tighten or loosen, and then these to tighten it up more around you. This is not probably the best. You can see how it's hanging low, which is normal. Some of that's is because I have that pad in there. But you would basically adjust this up tight to get it adjusted to where you don't have any drafts coming in. The only really way is to check is to get in it. So let's get in and see what it does. You pull it up like this. It could be a little bit tighter. So the point to an underquilt is to have it hanging up and snug against the underside of the hammock to where the insulation isn't getting compressed, but it's nice and right there just hanging well. This needs to be adjusted a little bit more and closed up on the ends so that no drafts can come in. But I can tell right now the difference between this insulated pad, which honestly is a pain in the ass. I'm sorry, did I say that? This insulated pad, which honestly I'm not a huge fan of, and the underquilt, this is way more comfortable, and I'm not cold just sitting here, whereas before I could feel the cold air coming in underneath. So let me adjust this just a little bit more. So with an underquilt like this, that's much better. I can tell just by where it's hanging up here, where it just wants to naturally stay up high like that. With an underquilt like this, you're going to have some fussing with it and some chance of not getting it set right to where air can come in. But this is one of the ways you know when you're in it and you pull it up and it wants to stay right up along sides of the hammock. And see, this is putting insulation all the way up along the side of me, whereas the pad only puts insulation right under you. So this is why I love underquilts. When you get in here with a sleeping bag, which we're going to get to that in just a second, you're going to have insulation all around you instead of just directly underneath you and on top of you. So a sleeping bag in a hammock, how are you going to do it? Honestly, you're not going to want to sleep in it like a sleeping bag. You can, people do, but it can be a pain in the butt. This is a fairly inexpensive one made by a company, Hibernate, that I picked up at Sam's Club quite a few years ago. It's rated to about 40 degrees, like this underquilt. It's a mummy style bag. You can see that. Getting in and out of a mummy bag in a hammock is really difficult. Just not fun. So what you're going to do is you're going to unzip it just down to about, see, this has, I could zip this all the way down to the foot box, because there's the foot box right there, and I'm going to lay in it with the zipper down. You're not going to be able to use the hood part of the mummy bag. That's fine. I sleep with this on, typically put the hood on with the beanie on under it, and when it's really cold, and I'm good. So there's ways around not using the hood on the mummy bag. So you're literally just going to put it in here, zipper down, and you're going to climb into it, put your feet up in the foot box. You see this one has, the zipper only comes down that far, and then there's the foot box area. I probably would not zip this all the way down, leave myself a little bit bigger of a foot box. In fact, I think I'm going to re-zip it back up some, and then just climb in it. So you literally just swing in, get your foot up in the foot box, get yourself positioned diagonally, and just tuck this in around you. I will, when I'm sleeping in it, tuck it all the way up like that, reach around, make sure that your underquilt's up there, and then I just tuck it in up around my shoulders like that and sleep. When I got into bed last night, it was right at freezing, maybe 31. So yeah, it was right at freezing. It was cold at first because all my insulation was cold, but I warmed up really quick. Just laying in this with my shoes off, I'm warming up. This isn't the best, but this is perfectly good for summer camping. I would probably not even use the pad. The pad's a little bit of a pain in the butt, as I've said. It'll help if you're worried about cold, but if I was just camping in an area where it wasn't going to get below 40 degrees at night, the sleeping bag and this underquilt would probably be fine. I probably wouldn't push it. This stuff is rated to that, probably keep you alive, not warmth comfort wise, but this is not bad. So you see how I'm laying in here. I'm diagonal to the ridgeline. So if you're worried about rain, you need a tarp. You could honestly just get a standard tarp, you know, like you would cover a wood pile with or something if you wanted to, and rig that up. This is the Calenico Hammocks brand tarp that I picked up on Amazon. I think I paid $40 for it, 30, 40. I'll put the price on here. I've not had this up. I've just had it out of the bag and briefly looked at it. So I'm going to set it up here. This one is designed to where you run a ridgeline between the two trees and then fish the tarp through the ridgeline, and then it's got tie-out points. So I'm going to pull this out and go to town and see how it works. All right, I've got the tarp up. It's the first time setting this tarp up. This is actually a really nice tarp for sill nylon tarp. Sill nylon is great tarp material. When it gets really wet though, it gets heavier. It's not waterproof. It doesn't shed the water off of it. It will stop you from getting wet, but it gets wet and it absorbs the water and gets heavy. So, you know, they are what they are. My other tarp, my big camouflage tarps, is Sill Poly, which is better. It's way lighter. This is a pretty heavy tarp. So here it is. It only came with 3 guy lines. It came with no ridge line. Luckily, I had some rope. I always bring with me some nylon rope. It comes with dog bones. If you're not familiar with dog bones, this is what they are. How they work is that you see there's a knot here, and then it loops. You bring a loop out and run it around your stake, and then it comes back up and runs through there and holds it tight. So if I want to loosen this, I just pull up on it, and I can slide it down and loosen it. And if I want to tighten it, then I literally take hold of the dog bone and just pull up and just slide it up, and that will tighten it back up. So dog bones are really an old style way of doing things. They work really good. I've got a Renaissance tent, a big canvas Renaissance tent that I use wooden dog bones on. So I don't remember how big this tarp is. I want to say it's a it's 12. It's 12 foot. It's a 10 by 12. You see, I've got room. My the backpack is hanging inside there. It's covering it up well. I could have gone with those 3 tie outs and had these corner tie outs just bend in, fold in on himself, and run some cord through that and make it so that it's sealed on the end for the most part. But that's what it looks like on this end. So I'll come around here. That's what it looks like on this end. You know, it's not hanging really tight. What I did was I ran the ridge line through this one and then tied it up tight there to pull it tight. I don't know how important it is to use those. You really probably could just tie this up on this end and on that end and not even use a ridge line. You could just tie a rope to this and it goes around the tree. But on the inside here, you can see it's you know, it's not roomy. This is not a huge tarp, not like my 14-foot over there. If I put this in porch mode, I'd have a nice porch, which would be nice. I like 10 by 12 foot tarps. That's why I bought this one. That's a good size for all sorts of things you can do with it. So you can see, yeah, I mean, you step in and it just would push up on me and I could climb in and I'd be out of the rain. So that's not bad. That's not a bad tarp at all. That would keep me dry. You know, I mean, if the wind got blowing bad, the stakes might pull up where I put them in. These stakes are not my favorite kind of stakes. They're just a basic aluminum stake. I think these are aluminum. They might be stainless steel. They're okay. You know, they're not my favorite are the triangle profiled type that you can really step on and push down in. But these aren't bad stakes. So maybe could use a couple more tie outs, but if I ran the 3 just on this side and then used those ends and tied them in to close the ends off, if it got stormy, that's probably what I would do. So the last step of this is, what do you do about bugs? Now this time of year where I am here in the fall, there's no bugs. I mean, I don't know if you noticed this, but look at these quakies right behind me. It's a beautiful quakey grove right there, just gorgeous yellow. This is a great spot to camp. Just a slight breeze all night long and really nice. So this time of year, like I was saying, there's no bugs. But if you wanted, this is a summer camping setup, and preferably car camping. This isn't something you'd want to backpack in with. It's too bulky and heavy. But what do you do about bugs? Well, I have a solution for that. A bug net. It's the same brand, I believe, that I've got the same brand as the Hammock, and picked it up at Walmart for like 13 bucks. So let me pull this tarp up and flip it over and put the bug net on and show you that. So this is the bug net. It's an Equip brand also, like the Hammock. It's a, if I remember right, it's a zipper. It's a zipper bug net. So you get in it and then zipper it up. So I'm going to put this thing on here. The bag is attached to it, like the Hammock, so you don't have to worry about losing the bag. I did have this out once and played with it. I don't remember how it goes, so I'm going to have to figure it out. So it's got tie outs, it looks like. Some cordage for tying it up also to keep it up out of your way, like a ridgeline. So you could run it across or just tie it up to the ridgeline on the hammock, on the tarp. So the zipper is just about in the middle, it looks like, so it doesn't really matter. But I'll start with this end. So I want to get it in and out on this side, so I'm going to make sure the zipper is on this side. So an easy way to do this is just unzip it. I'm going to put this through that end, and then with the zipper open, be able to pull it around, pull it through. And just pull this around. Basically just like that, and then zipper this up. Now this thing does hang right down to the ground, which kind of bothered me. You pull this tight, and it's got a pull string, and then it's got a whole bunch of cord here that you could use to tie this up. So I've got the bug net all the way on. You can see I just tied those two together. I don't know why they had two separate ones, and just tied it up to the suspension on the end, just to help hold it up. I just tightened up the suspension. It was a little loose, and that actually is got the ridgeline sitting just right. I probably didn't need to string this up, because this would just rest right on the ridgeline on the inside of the hammock. So you just unzip it. It's just about touching the ground. The bag, the stupid little stuff bag, I'm probably gonna cut that off. Then you would just get inside. and zip it up. It's got a 2-pull zipper, so you can zip it from either direction. That's not bad. Now I'm bug free. It's nice and, you know, roomy in here just like normal. So, I mean, you're a little bit closed in. This isn't the black no-see-um bug mesh. It's more of a silver, but it's fine. And keep the bugs out. So part of the reason I did this was just to figure it out. My first hammock, the only hammock I've been using so far, is the Superior Gear hammock system. It has an integrated underquilt built right into it. The whole system is just really simple to use, very easy. There was a very small learning curve for me. I never have to mess with the underquilt and get it adjusted just right, because it's just there. It's built right in. The bug net that it came with is a fully enclosed bottom entry bug net, no zipper. You just pull a drawstring, loosen it up, climb in, and then reach and pull the drawstring tight. Very, very small learning curve. The suspension was really lightweight, easy to set up. It's a backpacking hammock system. So I kept seeing these hammocks at Walmart, and, you know, looking at them, and opened one up one day and took a look at it and thought, you know, I could probably make this better. A lot of people are buying Enyos, One Winds, a lot of these less expensive hammocks to get into hammock camping. They don't want to invest a bunch of money right off the bat like I did. I spent probably 4 months researching it, figuring out what I wanted, and then dropped some big money to buy what I got. But if you're not interested in spending a bunch of money, you just go camping on occasion and you want to camp in a hammock because you're sick of sleeping on the ground, this is a great way to go. The only other thing I would do different with this would be to replace those great big huge carabiners with some small little lightweight ones. Well, these are not ultra lightweight, they're stainless steel, but they have a 400-pound weight limit. They're the national brand. I think I picked them up at Eagle Hardware or Home Depot, somewhere like that. That would be the only other thing I would do different, was just to replace these really quick and easy. Just open this up, pull it out, unhook this one. Hook this one in. And there goes a helicopter. Now I've got a better carabiner. It's not as heavy, not as bulky. So this is a really basic, simple setup for what it is. Not that expensive. Like I said, I think I spent under $200. I think it was probably like 150. I'll put that on here, tally it all up. So if you think you're wanting to give hammock camping a try and you don't want to invest a bunch of money, this is a really decent way to go. I went backpack with this setup, but it would be great for car camping in the summertime, where, you know, it's not going to get colder than about 50 degrees. With that sleep pad in there, we'll probably keep it warmer. If you went with a warmer sleeping bag, you'd probably be fine down to, you know, the mid 40s or even down to 40. Maybe pushing 30, but I don't know. It was 30 degrees here last night in my other hammock, and I wasn't cold by any sense of the word. I've slept in that thing down into the teens. It's rated to 15, and I've been comfortably fine in it. Something like this, you're not going to want to winter camp in. It's a summer camping setup, but you could make it better. You could add some more insulation under the underquilt. You could stick in a wool blanket. That would help immensely. If you put it between the underquilt and the hammock, you could take another sleeping bag and string it under there also. I've seen people do that. You just take the sleeping bag and put it in up underneath right in between the underquilt and the hammock, and then make sure you're not, you know, it's not so tight that you're compressing the insulation. So it's about a week later. It's Friday night. The last footage was Saturday. So I've set this hammock up in a different spot. I'm now down in Prescott, Arizona, south of Prescott in the Prescott National Forest. And I have set this hammock up. I'm going to sleep in it. It's chance of rain. It's only going to get down to about maybe 50 to 60 degrees. So let me show you what I got here. So I'm just in a campground. I was going to go camp in the National Forest area, and I couldn't really find a place I liked. So I've set it up here. You see I got my little chair set up there. The biggest drawback to this bug net is the bag is attached to the bug net, which bugs me, and it hangs to the ground. So I have just attached, you can see some yellow cable up to it. Won't be a problem when I go in to get out. Just unzip right there, climb in, zip it back up from the inside. But having that hanging on the ground was just inviting bugs to come up and climb up on the bug net. I've got it set up between two trees about 14 feet apart. I went down to Walmart and bought some new stakes. I really like this style of stake. This is just a basic T-style cross-section stake. I like these way better than those aluminum. I've still got some of those aluminum ones that came with this tarp over here, but these are really a pain in the butt to get to sink in, and when you go to step on them to push them in, they'll bend on you. So I bought 6 new stakes I'm gonna include with this. And I also bought some different rope. I've got this yellow rope ran up across here to hold up the tarp, as you can see. I bought some different rope just like this that I'll use to attach the tarp up. This tarp bugs me a little bit with these tie-up points. It just, even though it's almost like it needs to be pulled tight on the tie-out point, and then pulled tighter here. If I could pull that tighter there. It's not the best tarp, but for what I paid for it, it's a decent tarp. We'll see tonight when it rains. It looks like it's probably going to. So I'm going to spend the night in this, and then hit the road tomorrow morning and drive up to Flagstaff and check out Flagstaff if the trees still have color on the leaves and the storm's not too bad. Then I'm going to backpack into the Kachina Peaks Wilderness area and camp in there, but otherwise I'm just going to head home. But for now, I'm going to head up the canyon and photograph a cool tree I found. So I'll talk to you later. Well, this isn't bad. This is not uncomfortable. It's not quite as wide. It's got a different cut than my Superior Gear hammock. I mean, it's not as nice, obviously. It's a cheap Walmart hammock. But I got the underquilt adjusted so it's coming right up around both sides, which is the way it should be. Just coming right up, and I'm laying diagonal. Really nice. So it's 8 o'clock. I'm going to bed. I sat out here and got some photographs of the night sky through the trees, which were pretty cool. The city lights and the clouds were lit up, just made it lit up red like a sunset. Got some shots of the hammock. I'll put those on here with the hammock hanging, and just played around, taking some photographs, and called my wife, talked to her. So another thing about camping in a hammock that I forgot to point out was this behind me. It's a Ridgeline bag. So this bag right here, it's a bag that hangs on the Ridgeline that you put various things in. It's a little mesh bag. I've got flashlights and cough drops. If I'm backpacking, I'll put everything in there, my wallet and everything. I've got some of that stuff in my car, but my keys, my pocket knife, my another flashlight, and then behind me, this is a peak bag that it's a camouflage. You can see it's a peak bag. That I've also got a watertight bag. Well, I've got a jacket and some other colder weather gear in this watertight bag that I just crammed into this peak bag. This is a bag you just clip to the ridgeline with some carabiners and just push it up into the corner and into the peak up in there, so it's up out of the way. And then if you need anything that's in that in the night, you just pull it out. So I don't think it's going to get colder than maybe 50. It's probably going to stay 60 all night long, but we'll see in the morning. Yeah, so people talk about, well, what do you do with your gear? You know, how do you handle your gear and stuff? You don't have a room, you do in a tent. Yeah, you do. I mean, if I was backpacking, my backpack would be hanging on my suspension underneath the tarp, up out of the way, to where bugs and rodents would have a really hard time getting to it. And all my stuff that I don't want in the backpack, I could fit right in these bags. So I just have it right in here with me. So yeah. So I've just got my sleeping bag I showed you in that other one. On top of me is a top quilt. Plus I have a little, I've had these things for years. It's a little fleece sleeping bag liner. I've got a couple of them. And I opened it up like a quilt. So I've zipped the foot box of it up and then just put it around on top of me. So I'm not in it. Getting in something like that can be difficult. Whereas with a quilt, you just get your feet in and then tuck the thing around you. I did that not because I was worried about the cold. This sleeping bag is kind of a cheap sleeping bag, and I sweat against it. I slept with it in my car Saturday night. Yeah, Saturday night in Kodachrome Basin State Park in Utah, and was just sweaty weird. It was just uncomfortable. I don't know why. I had a really bad night. My stomach was upset stuff, but so I think it was just this thing doesn't breathe, so having an extra layer, with this fleece liner, just have it there between me and this sleeping bag should help. If not, if I get miserable, I'll go grab my other nicer quilt out of my car. Anyway, so I'm gonna go to bed. I'm sleeping in my dragon wool hoodie, and so I can have this hood on. It just helps keep my head warm. One of the breaks of being bald. So we'll see how this goes. I'll talk to you in the morning. It's 6:40 in the morning, and I'm heading out. I slept really good, actually. I was really surprised sleeping that well in that hammock setup. It got to 38 degrees, and was perfectly warm. I could feel a little bit of cool air coming, just a slight bit of cold air coming in from the bottom, but nothing that was, it was mostly when I got up to go to the bathroom at like 4 o'clock and got back into bed and then warmed back up. Ended up laying there listening to the owls, and then fell back asleep. I didn't want to leave too early because I didn't want to be making noise with people, you know, waking people up in a campground. But yeah, I slept really good. Everything held up well, and that hammock was actually fairly comfortable to sleep in. I don't think it's quite as long as my other one, as my Superior gear. The length of it said it was 10 feet, but I'm gonna stretch it out and measure it and see, because it seemed to be a little shorter, which made a little bit more of that ankle ridge, or whatever you call it, but it wasn't bad. I just, when you lay diagonal, you'll feel your legs across there. You'll feel those ripples in that gathered end, and you lay across diagonal, and then get your feet into the far end, and then it'll settle in, and you won't feel that ridge underneath your calf, that calf ridge. That's what it's called. Anyway, so I'm going to head out. I've got about a 9.5 hour drive to get home. I was going to stop in Flagstaff and backpack. I may stop there and check it out, but I don't think I'll spend the night there. I think I'll just go straight home. I've been on the road for a week and I'm kind of trashed. I just want to get home, see my wife, see my grandson tomorrow. So So I just hit 100 subscribers on my channel. I'm getting big time. Woohoo! But because of that, I'm going to give this hammock setup away. It's a good hammock setup. Having slept in it for the night, it was good. I mean, down to 38 degrees I was fine. It probably would have been fine to 35. I think it's only rated to 40. But it worked really good. So if you're interested in having it, like this, it's kind of hard to drive and do this at the same time, you know. So if you're interested in having this hammock set up, like this video, please subscribe. I don't usually ask for subscriptions, but please subscribe if you haven't already, and comment in the comments section that you want the hammock set up. It'll be the tarp with all of the lines to tie the tarp up. I've got some camouflage poly line and the lines to stake the tarp out, some stakes, 6 lines, and it'll be the hammock, the straps, the suspension straps, those lighter weight carabiners, the hammock, and the underquilt, and the bug net. So you'll need your own sleeping bag or sleeping bag as a top quilt in there, but it's pretty much everything you're going to need except for the top quilt or sleeping bag. And if you've already got that, then you're good. Like I showed you, you can just use the sleeping bag as a top quilt and you'll be fine. So anyway, comment in there that you want it, and I'll do a drawing to pick whoever gets it, and then I'll ship it to you. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and happy trails.